can I ask follow up on that very point? I was just kind of curious. It seems as though Esther has a infinite intelligence that focuses with her, travels with her, that she can access.
And so do you.
And so do I.
And she can utilize it or not. She can pinch it off or accept it.
So I'm just kind of curious about the perspective of infinite intelligence. It would seem that when you're in this room, when Abraham is in this room, Abraham's looking through Esther's eyes and perceiving and getting the feedback directly through Esther.
Some of it, but not only through Esther, through all of you. And not only through your eyes.
In talking about experiences, Esther tells stories from her background. It would seem that Abraham knows me just as well as Esther and could be telling stories from my experience or anyone in the audience.
Her stories are more accessible to her because they're more active and therefore easier to access.
Trying to divine a little bit, is my inner being, my greater self, in touch with all the other greater selves?
Yeah.
And to what extent do I travel with the inner beings of those in my experience, or the inner?
When we say we're all in this together, we mean it.
Okay.
You have access to all of it, but you can only translate it back through your own perspective, and so it's your own belief system about that.
Okay. So I've perceived some inspirations that I, in my own belief, attribute to an artist that I know.
Yeah.
And I've perceived a lifelong connection to a friend who I rarely see, and yet I feel I'm always in communication.
Yeah.
Those are all valid understandings of infinite intelligence and my communication.
Yes, 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 yes. And what we would like to say to you, and there is so much more available to you that you don't let in because you've only let those in because of your somewhat expectation that's been born from your meeting with them. As you are an artist, you got to know, we'd like you to know, that every artist who's ever artisaned is aware of you and flowing to you and through you. And to the degree that you open and allow, the influence of what that non-physical energy is about is then flowing through you. When we talk about pointing, and we demonstrated Esther she does so much positive pointing and some pointing that doesn't serve her very well, but then ultimately served her extremely, extremely well. We want you to feel in fullness how everyone who has ever lived, who has reemerged into non-physical, is aware of all of you. And while you can't comprehend in the same way you don't understand electricity, you can't comprehend how much knowing there is collectively about you, and how much interest there is in you, and how much support and offering is flowing to you, to the degree that you let it in through relaxing your resistors and your pinching off, the more you let that flow into your experience. And so what we're saying is that if you are a physical artist, that you have the potential of all of that awareness of you, of it flowing through you in these masterful, inspired performances that would just flow right through you. But most don't expect it, and therefore they don't allow it, they don't receive it, and it's mostly because, and here it is, maybe this is what you were getting at the whole time that we're having this conversation, and maybe it's something that just evolved as a result of this conversation. But the reason that most of you don't is because you have some screwy idea that you've been sent here as an individual to be on your own and prove your worthiness. So you are wary about letting anybody else in and letting anybody else flow through you. It's like, I've got to do it myself because I've got to prove my own worthiness through my own hardship and struggle and through my own deciphering. And it's not that way at all. All you got to do is open up to some desire that you hold purely in your heart. And all of us that have some idea of how you could get more quickly and more satisfyingly there flow to you. And if you're wide open and you're getting those impulses, then you're just romping from one satisfying, successfully joyful experience to another, to another, to another, to another, to another. You follow that?
I follow that, and my understanding is to allow joy to flow through me, and in that.
But that's a lot to ask. We just want you to be satisfied. Joy will show up later. Just be satisfied.
Okay.
This is a bigger discussion than you know. You're going to leave and you're going to say, I spent a lot of money and I sat through a lot of hours and what I heard was satisfied, 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 satisfied. But it is the key to living happily ever after. It's the key to every single thing you want. It's the key to your understanding. It's the key to your blending. It's the key to your inspiration. It's the key to what comes next and next and next and next and next. Because law of attraction will take it and parlay it into everything that you are able to allow it to be. So what's stuck in your vibrational
No,
drum?
I'm feeling really excited with the understanding that attending to what is satisfactory in the moment,
which is to say, being aware of my level of resistance. And I've parlayed my resistance from relief, and somehow I woke up and I'm in a state of absolute non-resistance, and I know it. I'm in a state of absolute non-resistance, and I know it because I feel satisfied, and I'm going to do everything in my power to remain in this state of non-resistance because I understand with all of my heart what comes next. And Esther knows it more clearly than she's ever known it before, because she's been pointing and getting and pointing and getting and pointing and getting and then pointing and getting. By pointing at something unwanted and getting it, it was more clarity that she had with all of the other pointing. You see what we're getting at? By isolating satisfaction and then by acknowledging I wasn't there. She wouldn't have admitted it before. She would have said, I wasn't bothered by that. I was just laughing about it. It was funny. I didn't really care. Until you isolate and identify what satisfaction is, you don't have any control. And too many humans are offering too much lip service. You're pretending things because you're performing for others. And there's nobody else to perform for. There's only your inner being to align with. And you can't fake satisfaction. It either is or it isn't. And if it isn't, then things aren't working out for you. And if it is, then things are working out for you. And when you make that distinction and you do what's easy to do, because satisfaction is an easy place to start, and then you watch what happens next, now you are off and rolling. And those people who are watching you, they won't even be able to explain to themselves the difference in what they are seeing in your life experience. How is it that things always turn out for you? They just do. Well, what's your secret? I'm a pointer. What do you mean? I just keep pointing in the direction of things that are satisfying till I've isolated that feeling and it's dominantly what I feel. What? In this world you feel mostly satisfied? Yes. How do you do that? Because I care about how I feel. But there are so many other unsatisfying things in the world. How do you stay satisfied in a world that has so much that is unsatisfying? Because I mean to. Because I care about it, because I understand electricity, because I understand how it works, because it's worth doing, because it's the key to the secret that hardly anyone has unlocked, because it's the key to my clarity, it's the key to my alignment, it's the key to the leverage, it's the key to the energy that creates worlds, it's the key to everything. It seems too simple to be the key to all of that. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? It's so simple and therefore easy. And then the goodness prevails. We weren't sent here, you can tell your friends, to be tested. We were sent here to explore and experience. We are sent here as extensions of source energy. We came into this physical body. We sent ourselves into this environment with the powerful intention of exploring and discovering what we want, into an environment that could replicate whatever it was that we identified and would. And then so many of us got sidetracked by trying to sort out the rightness and the wrongness in places where people were standing, instead of just evaluating for ourselves and maybe for others where we are on our track of tuning in. It's like vacuuming your floor without plugging it in. And you've made marks all over the whole house. And it's obvious that you were here because there's vacuum tracks everywhere, but there's still dust and dirt everywhere too, because you didn't plug it in. And so until you find a way to hook in to who you are, there's really no point in whatever it is that you're about. until you've consciously hooked in to the energy that is really you, then you really don't want to turn the juice on. And that's what we meant about the conversation with electricity. You don't want to turn that electricity loose until you've figured out what you're doing with it. In other words, you got to figure out how to harness it before you can apply it. And that's what we're talking about here. This is energy that creates worlds, and you are ready for the satisfaction factor. And once you find it, more will come and more will come and more will come, until you'll find yourself in a day where you feel satisfied, and then the universe will just yield to you all of these rendezvous and what you call coincidences. And we like the word coincidence because it means a cooperative incident, a coincident where you've rendezvoused with things that are a vibrational match to who you are. And in your awareness, when you make the association between what you've been feeling, a feeling that you've isolated and identified and you're keenly aware of, and what comes next, now you are in complete control. Now you're in complete control of everything that comes to you, which is what we're hearing from you that you wish for. You want to be able to apply your talents, and there is no greater talent than tapping into the energy, knowing how much you've tapped into and knowing how to apply it, you see. Enough? Really good conversation. Right out there where we have not been before. For sure. So from what you've heard from us, what do you most feel like doing? Something that is satisfying, yes? Something that feels good. Do you have to explain it to anybody? Because if you do, will they understand? And is there the potential of, in your explanation, of them not agreeing with you, and then what was a good idea to you a minute ago doesn't seem like such a good idea? We have enjoyed this interaction immensely. Just stay right there. You had a really good day, and you did a really good thing for yourself by sitting through the entire conversation about something that seems as simple as reaching for satisfaction. The anticipation we feel of what will unfold in your experiences over the next 2 or 3 days is inexplicable. We can't even describe to you. Esther could write 10 books tonight, and it wouldn't be enough to explain all of the things that you're going to be aware of in the next few days. You're going to be aware of these things. You're going to be aware that you are worthy and always have been. You're going to be aware that your inner being has your back. You're going to be aware that someone who has your back knows everything that matters to you. You're going to be aware that your capacity to endure satisfaction is expansive, and your ability to expand in your satisfaction is going to be something that really rocks your world. You're going to be aware that the people around you are thriving just because they're around you, and you're going to feel less inclination to explain to them whatever it is that they are doing. You're going to find yourself happy to just be quiet and let them be, while you happily let yourself be who you are, where in the newfound satisfaction, as you hold them as your object of attention, they benefit by the sheer gaze that you are providing as you hold them as your object of attention. We're not giving this information to you because we want you to improve the lives of anyone else. We're just saying to you, you're not going to be able to help it. We want you to be aware of the things that you're pointing at. And if you see something that is going wrong with your children that you think that you need to point out, like they're staying up too late, or they're not getting enough sleep, or they're spending too much time on their phone, just remember Esther and her screen and ask yourself, what are you pointing at? What are you pointing at? Are you pointing at the things that you want to shine a magnifying glass on? Or are you pointing at the things that you don't? Lastly, we want to say to you, life is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fun. And when it isn't, something's off. There is great love here for you. And for now, we are complete.